Now it's going to work.
There we go.
Hi, Alexia.
Hey,
This is definitely standard for the course.
we're actually live by 12:01. Honestly, this is best case scenario.
Everyone, just to remind everyone, it's 9 a.m. where I am. So, we do this because the folks on the East Coast, we don't want to make it too late in the day for them. But
We could do it after lunch for me. I might be a little sleepier, but whatever.
yeah, maybe, huh? Do we move to 10? I don't know. Maybe I should start by also saying we're going to move to a new podcast hosting thing. So it's going to be a different link, and I will send that out to the folks who are live here with us on Riverside. And also, there won't be many changes on LinkedIn, but this way you can miss the live version and then go find us on Apple and Spotify and listen to us later and relive the magic. So we're getting
Like and
fancy,
subscribe.
Milo.
5 stars.
Smash that like button.
Yeah,
Subscribe.
that's terrible.
I feel like we should put $1 in the jar every time we say that. So
Yeah.
let's get to work. Alexia Haralambous, you are one of my all-time favorite humans. You and I worked together at a company that shall remain named up until recently, and I am very excited what you're working on now. What you're building. So please do a quick intro and where you're from, and then what your joke is. It's the best way to start. Don't worry.
Classic. Well, thanks, Allison. Thanks, Nilo. Thanks for having me. So my background, I am a biomedical engineer by training. Found myself unexpectedly at FDA, and that was right out of college. I spent some time in the spine devices branch there, 3.5 years. Met Allison at a conference randomly, and this was after Allison, you had left FDA. And that was the start of a great friendship. But I moved along into industry, went to work for Stryker, and spent several years there getting to know the ropes of how medtech business actually works. And after that, moved over into the consulting world. So got to actually work with Allison at the time. And now I'm off on my own. My company continues to focus on clients that are in the smaller early stage space, and it's been a great time. It's been a lot of neurological and cardiovascular devices as of late, and hope to continue it. So, all right, my joke. Why is everyone so sick of optometry puns?
Why?
I can't see it. Or is it something like that?
Not bad, actually. That's not bad. They keep getting cornea.
Oh, no. It's good. I like it.
I'm working on a lot of ophthalmic jokes or ophthalmic devices, so I'm going to try that one out.
I thought it was going to be something about didn't see it coming or something like that. So I like that. Cornea.
That'd be a more reasonable. Yeah.
No, puns should be as corny as possible. I like that one.
As cornea.
Hey, come on, Nilo, what's your joke?
So I've been working on a lot of plastic surgery and cosmetic device ones lately. So do you guys remember when plastic surgery was a taboo subject? But now people talk about Botox all the time and no one raises an eyebrow.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Two for two, Allison. Let's go.
Oh.
Pressure's on.
Well, today I have one job I have to do, besides all the work that I'm totally behind on from all the conference traveling I've been doing. So today, my husband's like, can you get attach the light, like this light and fan to the ceiling. And I was like, honey, I'm probably going to screw it up. I know, I know.
We're crushing it today. This is a good
Really?
day.
I know. I will say, Alexia, like, I think I've decided to do like a short, like, people don't know what DTKU is. And I'm like, it's a place where we tell jokes and talk about regulatory stuff. And I'm like, I think I need a small video of just all the best of jokes. So maybe every like 2 weeks, I'll just put together a compilation. That one's going to be in it. So,
This podcast might turn into like a comedic podcast at some
yeah.
point.
Milo, you can be Joe Rogan and I'll be
No.
Andy Huberman. Yeah, we're not. We have very low aspirations. That's it. Like, we're just shoot low. Let's dive in, shall we? There's been a couple of de novos and PMAs this week, and I was very excited about one of them in particular, which was the Taito Insights for eardrum bulging detection for all your bulging eardrums. And they haven't released the decision summary or anything for it yet, but I do know that it's a very broad regulation. So the nice thing is because it's an ear, nose, and throat, it's an ear, nose, and throat like image analysis. And so they had one of these in dental, right? Like, it was like an image, and then it would analyze the image and give you some sort of aid to diagnosis. And now they have it for ears, right? But it's also going to be for other facial orifices. And that's great news. I always love it, when I think about what they did for cognitive behavioral therapy devices for psychiatric disorders. It was such a nice broad regulation that had very specific special controls, and it allowed folks to predicate off of each other even if they had very different indications. And I get frustrated when I see very narrow regulations drawn up, because then it's like, okay, now you're asking for another de novo for every single time something kind of innovative in that space happens. But for this one, it's nice. It's like, okay, we can, there are companies now that should probably look at that and see, is that a good reg for me? And is the Taito device, even if it has very different indications, a good predicate for me to use? So I'll get off my soapbox, but I was really, really excited to see that.
I wish de novos weren't like feared or like such a big cost and timeline jump, because I actually like it when they're specific, because trying to fit broad categories and like using the Taito device as a predicate for something totally different, it's a fun regulatory puzzle on that end. But at the same time, I'm like, can I just prove that my device works? Sometimes, but with de novos and kind of the bar there, you have to do those kind of predicate leaps sometimes. But I don't know.
It does seem like over time, the gap between what's needed for de novo and what's needed for a 510K at the end of the day seems to be getting smaller and smaller. I mean, you just look at the E-star, and really the only difference is that risk benefit section. I mean, of course, the level of data is a whole thing in itself, but I think, I don't know, I had this realization recently, and I was like, this feels like a 510K, but just with a little bit more. Yeah,
And
I noticed. Oh yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, we've included the benefit risk arguments in 510Ks recently too, where we're trying to make that jump, because I think it's science, and that's kind of public health part of it, is like, what is that benefit risk argument should be part of it. So
yeah.
Sorry.
No, I totally agree with you. I was just going to say, I did notice with the limited information on that Taito authorization that they had a PCCP also included in their de novo, which I'm curious to see what that will be about. But I didn't know much about Taito. I kind of looked at some of their other. They have a whole ecosystem of clearances. It seems like it's kind of like, I don't know, like maybe looking to moving towards like a portable exam room at home type of thing. I
100%.
feel like
Yeah.
this is kind of great too. Um, eardrum bulging detection. I feel like for those 7 p.m. or whatever urgent care visits for kids to just like check out what's going on with the ear. I mean, this is huge.
Yeah.
So
I'm hoping to put together like and Caroline Rim, who's one of my advisors for Blue Stocking Health, was like, we got to do like a video of like the top 5 or top 10 devices that new parents need at home. Like as soon as you get this baby home, you're like, how did they let me leave the hospital with a new human? Don't know how that happened. And then also, what am I doing? And so I was like, oh, I wish like there were certain things, even just like certain digital thermometers, and like we were just talking about all the tech that's come out to get you better prepared if there is that 7 p.m. or that 11 p.m. honestly like
right.
issue that comes up. And so I totally see this as like also in line with like the Taito is in line with what Michelle Tarver, like Dr. Tarver is doing at FDA of like home as a healthcare hub. Like
Right.
how do we get more devices or like devices to where the patients are, especially if they live in a medical desert, if they're super far away from like an emergency room, or it's going to honestly, the healthcare system is, expensive to like go into the hospital. And then this might just give you a little more peace of mind of like, is there something, or it takes the image and we'll maybe send it to the physician or the night nurse, at the hospital, and they'll say, yes, come in. Or, like it just gives you another layer of confidence of like what you're seeing or what you're experiencing, especially with kids that can't talk very well, they can't like, or at all, and they can't really communicate like where the pain is. So yeah, I'm super excited to see stuff like this. If it's like, and like the website, if you go to the Taito website, it's like some dude like holding a device up to his ear, and then like a nurse bubble, like being like, oh yeah, okay, like looking at what he's taking an image of. And I'm like, that's it. Like if we could just have somebody, I had a telehealth appointment with my daughter during COVID, and I was like, this is so great. Like she looked at my daughter, she had a rash on her body, and I was like, what is that? And it was great because I didn't have to go to the hospital, which I didn't want to go to the hospital in April of 2020. So yeah, preach. Nice work, Taito.
Yeah.
Way to bring some new regs to the table.
We've got a
Yeah.
Shall we
Pittsburgh.
move on to the the other one, the suction choking? I know we talked about LifeVac last week, but they came out, their decision summary is up, which is, I
Nice.
love it. Yeah, so they have their classification order and decision summary. I've heard some like behind the scene, like people are saying it's super annoying when those don't go live, right? I think we've all seen it on like our back chat, but it's I know that FDA is working on it. Like they're really trying to get them out faster, especially when they know, it's like people are like, how do I use this as a predicate if I don't know what documents are out? And so they had like 3 main risks to health: injury or death from choking, which is injury to oral or oropharyngeal tissue, and then adverse tissue reaction. Their indications were interesting. LifeVac can be administered by a layperson or a medical professional in various settings, including at home or nursing homes. And they did say like 18 years or older. So it's only to remove an object, food from a victim with a complete airway obstruction. So they got like layperson indications, which
is probably, I mean, that's kind of how right, it's an emergency thing. That's how ADs are supposed to be worked too, right? You pull it off the wall and it's supposed to work right away.
Yeah, I haven't looked at all the decision summary but I want to look at like what they did for their user human factors.
Speaking of the home, going back a little bit for the home as a healthcare, I saw a post today, and unfortunately the talk was yesterday, but the Reagan-Udall Foundation did a big like 1 day or half day over-the-counter diagnostics public talk that was like the Reagan-Udall Foundation for the FDA, and Courtney Elias spoke at it, and it seemed like a pretty, discussing home healthcare diagnostics too. And there's just, especially with, the COVID-19 over-the-counter stuff, but I think also point of care and app-based diagnostics are really expanding. So that's going to be kind of, an interesting area as well. And on the telehealth thing, I have one of my favorite clients. They're all my favorite. They're all special. But actually, one of my favorites, she spoke at RAPS as one of the keynote speakers this year, Anna Lee from Corian, and they're doing something cool for home health care for kids with electronic stethoscopes and kind of integrating and making it easier for parents and things like that. So
That's
those are
cool.
always fun. I totally agree, Allison, that these are things you need to go home with a kid, and like people who are making it easier to do that kind of stuff at home for parents are very cool devices.
It increases the value of like a telehealth visit too, I feel like, because now you actually might have, um, parameters or vitals or whatever it may be to give to the telehealth doctor, give a little bit more context to, their assessment.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like especially with little kids of like if there's a wearable, I mean, I think we all know about like the owlet and like how
Hate it.
it sounded like it was such a hard path, right, for them to navigate. I also think there's like, and one of the things at LSI, and then also I was at the Society for Critical Care Medicine in Chicago, which was really cool. We're like talking with all their incubators and stuff, and just even there's so much discussion around like the user and the patient's benefit risk assessment of a device, right? And I think an outlet came up in another conversation where it was like, it's not for everyone, right? And I guess like with Blue Stocking Health, I'm always like, this device may not be for everyone because you have to decide whether or not is it fit in your lifestyle, is it something, and it just might not be effective for you, right? But for in this with the outlet, there are some parents that like it becomes an obsession, right? And they like checking it, and it's like, and it becomes an anxiety-inducing device. And then there we go.
This
There's
guy.
one of that. And then there's some folks who are like, I talked to a woman. She's like, I lost my first baby, and it was the only thing that allowed me to sleep through the night with my second born when they came along because I felt like another layer of confidence that like something was, I would be woken up. It's okay. You can go to sleep. And so like not every person is the same, and not that we need to, this is maybe a message to FDA, like we shouldn't evaluate each one of those as 15 users, different user group, because that's terrifying. But even just to think about when you read indications or you read labeling or if it's an over-the-counter device or even a prescription home use device, like you also need to have that conversation with your doctor and with yourself of like, is this something that I should be using? Is it going to like cause me more harm than good? So yeah, soapbox off.
Cool.
Anyway, okay, so PMAs. Who wants to talk about the cool Aura 6000? Which sounds like a broom from Harry Potter.
I was, it's funny, well, this is kind of unrelated, but related. I was at a run club like a few weeks ago, and this came up. So apparently, I didn't know this, but in Maryland and also several other states, if you're diagnosed with sleep apnea, you're legally required to self-report it to the DMV. And if you're prescribed a CPAP, you have to prove that you're actually using it. I think there's some number depending on the state, but it's like 4 hours a night, 70% of nights, or they can suspend your license. My friend was telling me about how this happened to her husband, and he tried to actually sue the DMV but lost, and so he was forced to adhere. But anyways, I thought of that when I saw this PMA because this is for obstructive sleep apnea, I think moderate to severe, and like I think it's similar in I guess in technology to the Inspire, which has been around for quite a while. Like similar neurostim type of concept, although I think it's the hypoglossal nerve that's being stimulated, but I think Inspire, they do more of like distal nerve ending stimulation, whereas Aura 6000 does the main trunk. So it's like a slightly different mechanism. So same nerve, I guess, slightly different philosophy. And I mean, of course, it's like implantable. And is that me? No, it's not me. Um, it's implantable, but it's also not as uncomfortable, I feel like, as a regular CPAP. I don't know. I think still at the end of the day, a regular CPAP is probably, lower risk. It's definitely lower risk than one of these devices, but just from the
Depends on if you got
perspective of like
particles flying
compliance.
down your throat, though. That was the big recall,
Yeah,
right? Of like foam or
that
something that was
there's
dislogic.
Well,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and also just the general, because I've worked with a couple of companies that are trying to fit in between CPAP and these like implantable, pretty intense surgeries to like put in an IPG.
Right.
And because like CPAP, something like 50% of people just don't use it, right? And to
Mm-hmm.
that, the Maryland DMV thing, that's kind of crazy, proving that you use it. But it is tough to work with the FDA on it just in general of, yeah, we know CPAP works, but no one uses it. And we want to get something that works somewhat as good or fits those people before we tell them they have to go get implanted with a nerve stimulator to have a driver's license. Like I've always found those types of arguments challenging with the FDA though, because they're looking at it kind of in a more black and white. Did it meet your endpoints? How effective are you? And it's tough to craft those, like, where does this fit in the continuum of care arguments sometimes, especially if it's not already like established 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But it's a cool device. I was kind of looking at the documents around it this morning because I saw you put it in there. So
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I'm starting to snore more because perimenopause. I'm gonna throw it out there, and I'm just like, please hurry up with the devices that are gonna help me. So this made me feel like, okay, this is gonna be something for me because I have family members that wear CPAP, and like they have changed their lives. Like as you said, Alexia, there's so many things that it's can be dangerous when you're driving and sleep. Just completely gutted on sleep, and I'm like, okay, I see my future,
yeah.
and I
Well,
I want med tech to save my life.
the snoring could be the fact that you're on an airplane all the time too. Just
Yeah,
flying tubes of germs.
myself up snoring on an airplane
Oh
on my way
no.
back from Chicago, and I was like, that person, like I was like, I looked around to see if someone had thrown anything at me, like if they're like throwing goldfish in my mouth or something. Gosh, maybe I just need something that could we just do something that like the nightwear, that device that vibrates when you're having a nightmare, just or maybe one around my neck that's like anyway,
That seems to worsen obstructive sleep apnea.
at least I'll wake up and not have people mad at me around there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
To Nyla's point, though, I do feel like it is kind of like they're kind of two ends of the spectrum right now, right? The CPAPs and then the current neurostim based. And there's got to be something in the middle at some point that like it's more comfortable, more compliance, but also not a surgical implant.
yeah. Let's design it and we'll then sell it for
Yeah.
bajillion dollars. Someone here has got to be working on it. I feel like that's
I started this with I've got clients fighting the good fight of trying to get through the FDA through it and
Perfect.
convincing that group. And they've got valid
Come on,
concerns,
Milo.
so it's not like it's terrible. It's just what's good enough for something that's not as risky, and that's to that benefit risk argument in a 510K, right? It's how can we
Right.
fit in that space? But
Side story, I remember there was an apnea device years ago. I helped them with a pre-sub at FDA, and it was like this professor from a university that will remain unnamed. And he was just like, it's been great, and FDA asked, like, do you have any, like, evidence, like any clinical evidence or anything that you've, what sort of testing have you done? He's like, well, I've implanted it in all my graduate students and they love it. And I was like, Oh, Ixnay! Implanting on the graduate students. It's like that. And I think everyone, their eyes just got really big, their jaws dropped, and I was like, we're going to be seeing ourselves out. Let's go to new PMAs. The other one was the Trilogy transcatheter heart valve system. Who wants to take that one on? You want to talk about that too?
I'll talk about it real quick, just because we talked about it briefly last week, but I was tired, and also the SSCD wasn't up yet. So I'm just a fan of all transcatheter heart valves. My research pre-FDA was in heart valve research, so all of this stuff is very cool to me. I also have tricuspid regurg a little bit, just congenital. Nothing that's symptomatic or anything where hopefully I don't ever need this, but I'm just always kind of curious and think it's cool when these types of devices get through the FDA, because it used to require like crack someone's chest open and stop their heart, do surgery, and now we can do it almost inpatient, like, and there's obviously monitoring. It's not, you don't get anything for free. There are risks that come along with that weren't part of surgery, but I just think it's very cool. And I did see on the SSCD, and maybe I've been blind, but I haven't seen it. This is one of the ones that says this was a breakthrough device. So, and I don't remember seeing that being like explicitly called out on the SSCDs on some of the other PMAs. So I thought that was cool that they have started kind of making it clear when something was was a PM or a breakthrough and how long it takes to get to the PMA. So it got a 2019 breakthrough at the very end, so 2020, and 6 years later got the PMA. So it is a good kind of thing to also show developers that for class 3 breakthrough to market, isn't overnight, but it's there. It helps. I don't know.
Really
Plus,
cool.
I also got to moderate a panel with Stan Rowe, who basically invented all transcatheter heart valves. That's kind of his claim to fame for Edwards, and so I got to be a little bit of a fanboy while on the same stage, so that was cool.
Your panel was awesome, by the way.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I tried.
Yeah, very cool device. I went to their website and just like it's a really beautiful device too. Can we just talk about how sometimes you look at something and you're like, oh, that's so elegant, right? Like, and sometimes the more simple the devices, they're just so pretty. And then for this one, I mean, the engineering and the thought that went into its design, I don't know. I love stuff like this. So yeah,
there's so many components for these types of things too, and it's silly, but it doesn't have AI, so it makes me happy that these things are still becoming out. That not everything is the cyber device. So
Software. Yeah.
that'll be its first supplement. It's
Yeah.
gonna be
Yeah. Right.
Well, I think there's some surgical
detecting
planning.
regurgitation.
I think Philip's got like some surgical planning for these types of things, breakthrough or oh no, maybe it was either breakthrough or actually a 510K for surgical planning. I saw some press release recently for transcatheter things that uses AI, and I was like, oh, there's the software.
So this is just like a mechanical. It's purely mechanical. Is it nitinol?
Yeah,
based,
nitinol.
or-
Yeah,
Okay.
nitinol base. It kind of expands into the aortic root and flops out the valves, and they work pretty quickly.
Anchor somewhere, I'm assuming, to
Yeah, right on
like the leaflets.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The leaflets are they expand with the nitinol expansion. They all compress and then kind of like fold out. Honestly, like a parachute. It's like a very elegant parachute that kind of like works like that. I've seen it. I actually got to see a couple while I was at FDA, and just the way it works is very cool. Like the whole release and things like that. TCT, which is a huge or I guess it's CRT now. They host
you guys
conference.
ready? I'm gonna
Yeah.
share my slide.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
so with Duval and Associates, I do like a little like show and tell, and so I talked about it yesterday, and I was like, oh, so
cool.
pretty, isn't it pretty? Like,
It is very cool.
And there's the
Yeah.
placement if you go to their website, and you can see it while the person's heart is beating. As Nilo said, like you don't need to essentially crack that person's ribs open and like place anything. It's just
Cath
cool.
lab. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very cool. But I know we got a few other things on here.
Oh yeah.
I threw on some breakthrough onto the agenda just because I saw some press releases this week that I thought were super interesting. One was there's an IVD company that has a blood test, just like a fingerprint, it's capillary blood test that differentiates between bacterial and viral infections. And it seemed to be like a point of care quick turnaround. And I thought that was really cool. Again, Allison, for, you know, bringing kids and they're always like, we can't give them antibiotics until we find out if it's viral or bacterial. And I'm like, this is cool because I want my daughter to have the meds immediately so she's gets better faster and I can take her back to daycare. You know, parenting 101. But yeah, so I thought that was actually a very cool breakthrough kind of status of like, yeah, just that basic information would be great. And I can do the other one since I put them. Go
No,
ahead.
and I'm also a big fan of that. I feel like we're gonna see way more like devices and that get into the home. And then also, I often think of what Theranos did and the damage they did to people's trust of medtech, and even from an FDA perspective of like being way more skeptical of those things, which they should be because that was criminal. And then like what like now more devices feel like it's a higher bar, right? Because they're like, okay, we got patients kind of looking at us side-eyed, and then FDA giving us a harder time. And I'm like, maybe it's the right thing. At least it's coming, right? Like I feel like these technologies are coming, but it's just been a longer road to hoe.
Yeah.
But that's cool to hear.
I feel like that's
And yeah,
also the case
I saw
for
the next one for Noah Labs. I was like, oh,
yeah.
I saw that one too. That's super exciting. Me or Alexia?
Yeah. Either one.
I don't know much about it, so I'll let one of you guys.
I saw like I follow their CEO and all their folks, and I was just like, oh, it's so awesome that it's a for voice-based algorithm for detecting heart failure. And I know there were other companies that like their voice as a biomarker has been around for a while, right? And I feel like FDA has been aware of it. I'm aware of ones that were trying to help with like detection of influenza and COVID, and like so there's been a lot of movement in this space, but it makes sense like when you're experiencing heart failure or about to, you're like there's fluid in your lungs, or there's various like changes, and that will impact your voice. I'm sure there's other physiological things that I'm just not aware of that will impact your vocal biomarkers, and hopefully be able to like pick up if there's heart failure that's going to happen. And I was just like, oh, that's really cool that FDA gave them breakthrough. Of course, this means like, sorry to say this, but like breakthrough can also just mean like nothing, right? Like no one listens to this, but I'm like, it means that FDA believes there's a reasonable expectation that you will be more effective than what else is out there. And it used to just be like, I don't know, because we had some early bench data, but now it does not require. FDA will say like, where's your clinical evidence, or like, is there any evidence of clinical success and technical success? And so that means that they had to have some sort of something that made FDA feel like, yes, there is likelihood of clinical success. I'm sure they have clinical. I think when I was looking at their stuff, I'm like, yeah, they have enough to convince FDA, especially knowing how I feel like the bar for breakthrough has gone up over the past,
For
it's
sure.
been like 8 years since it's been a program, just because FDA slammed. I think the breakthrough submissions that have gone in, the success rate has gone down of like receiving breakthrough. So that signals to me that FDA really is convinced, because the bar has been higher. Congrats to Noah Labs. I feel like I really hope to see that make it to market, because when you think about all the potential, if that's a de novo or if that's, something that ends up being 510Kable off of it. Like there are way more things that can be picked up with your voice. Mine usually would probably just pick up that I'm tired, and it's like, aid to detection of caffeine deficiency.
It's like airplane cold.
It's like airplane cold approaching. Yeah, exactly. Go lay down. So yeah. Anyway, very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Let's go to the last bullet first because that one's big news, the reclassification. Who wants to talk about that?
I can start, I guess. Yeah, so, and I think, Allison, you've been involved to some extent with these types of devices at some point, if I recall correctly. But my understanding is that this, so melanoma, it was melanoma optical diagnostic devices for melanoma detection and electrical impedance spectrometers. That was the regulation previously. It was a post-amendment class 3, and I think there was pretty good reasons that FDA had kept it in class 3 for such a long time, right? Part of the reason is cancer diagnosis by default is going to be high risk, right? So if you have a false negative, for example, you could delay the melanoma detection, and that's like one of the most severe cancers, right? Another, I think, was that from just some of the reading that I did, like some of the earlier devices were also not that consistent. And dermatology in general is just visually very opaque and complex. And so it's hard to tell just by lesions in the body, in different body sites, your skin phototype, like if it's sun damage, inflammation, things like that. So I think, it sounded like there was a turning point during the Melifind PMA, which was several years ago. And I think that was like the first time FDA got a full data set on one of these types of devices with, full battery of clinical trials, histology-based ground truthing, performance across different types of lesions, and just generally like real-world use. And so I think over time between that and then more evidence, like peer-reviewed literature and I think clinical studies, even OUS, but also just generally more performance data across skin tones and lesion types. I think there was a little bit more confidence that was built up in these types of devices. And I think another turning point was in 2022 where there was an actual advisory panel that was pushing FDA to modernize on this, but carefully. So yeah, I think the outcome of that was that it turned into a reclassification to be an adjunctive tool. And again, I think fairly high level, or fairly broad, I should say, in terms of the regulation wording itself. But I think there were some big themes in that panel too about like histology, it must be the gold standard, differentiating between sensitivity and specificity and which one's actually more important in this context. And the user group, I think they ended up on specialized users, so definitely not for primary care use or non-specialized users. And it's, yeah, I don't know. This was really cool to see. I knew that it was in the works, but I didn't know exactly where it was. I had heard about the panel meeting back in 22 and didn't know much about it otherwise. And I guess it's kind of interesting that FDA was able to move past this without like additional real world, like a ton of additional real world data. So yeah, I don't know. It was pretty cool, just lowering the burden in general for adjunctive like melanoma tools, but also strong guardrails. So.
Because I feel like we're on the precipice of like a melanoma disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, especially I feel like our generation, I don't know, you guys are younger than me, but like I was terrified. Are you
the same age?
I never wore sunscreen as a kid, and I live in San Diego, and I was like burnt, like I'm got Australian background, like I would just get charred, and my mom would be like, "Why are you opening your sunscreen?" Like she's from Australia, so she was just like, "I need to lather you up," and I'd be like, "Oh, it's sticky. Oh, and I don't want to be a churro, where you like roll in the sand and then you're like covered." And so I'm like, there are so many moles on my body and like one's on my foot now. And my friend the other day, she was like, "You gotta go get that checked out." And I was like, I know. I need to go make an appointment. But then it's like, I just wish I had like my PCP or somebody had like, or if it came into my home, I wouldn't mind. I don't need to see the information. Don't show me the data, but I can run the test on my little moles and then number them or something, and then have my doctor be like, "Yeah, we're that one we're concerned about." So
and not get every single one of them biopsied or punched. Like that's another thing too. That's the worst, because if you have 5 moles, but 4 of them are nothing, like you have to punch in each one.
Yeah, I'm Southern Italian. I've got them everywhere as well, but I'm also the other half is Irish Swedish. So I was like every spring, I got to burn the Irish off before I get to the Italian skin. So it's probably not the best.
You're like a dog with 2 coats,
Yeah. I will, but to the melanoma thing, I mean, I feel like we're way better if you think back to like. Well, when I was in college and high school, like tanning salons were a thing. I don't think like with actual like thing, like those aren't still around at the same level. And people are way better about like, I go to the beach now and people are like in sun shirts and things like that way more often than they were in, 2002. So hopefully
that is true.
Knock on wood, we're better at it. But I also like on the punching.
My damage is done, man. Like I feel like
it's something that shows up relatively quickly. Hopefully, I'm just convincing myself because when I have to get the punches, I get keloids, so I get like weird scars every time we get a punch. So I'm like, this sucks. I don't want to keep having to do this. I really hope it's something I don't have to keep doing.
We'll have to change your name from Awesome Dude to like Bumpy Dude.
Bumpy Dude. Yeah. I don't have the physique to be Michael B. Jordan in Black Panther with all the scars. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't look at you and be like, "Oh yeah, he's like the white Michael B. Jordan."
No.
Sorry,
yeah, not going to happen.
How do we get off topic so fast?
Very easily. I'll bring us back in. I do. Okay. So there's every year. FDA does the regulatory like educate REDI. What's it called? Conference.
Isn't it called REDI? The Ready.
Conference. Yeah, Ready. I forgot what the acronym stands for.
Do you call it a 510K too, sir?
Every time. Yeah, I call it my 501K because I mix it up. How many clients have you had mix it up with their 401Ks every time?
They say 401K all the time, and I'm like, I know what you mean. It's okay.
They're doing they have like an innovation. Shoot, I had it pulled up earlier. Here it is. They have like an innovative regulatory strategies to advance medical products conference Tuesday and Wednesday in May 19th and 20th. And Shelly from Dice wanted me to repost it, and I haven't gotten to it yet. So if you're on the call, I will repost it later today, and we'll put it in the link. But it seemed like a cool agenda, and every year. The Ready conference is actually super informative, especially for startups on just the basics.
Just say it's super informative because it sounds like you're surprised.
That's fair. My daughter now says actually at the end of like sentences. I put it on the wrong foot actually. I'm like, that is my fault and I gotta stop. So
that's a really good point. I hate it when clients say that to me. They're like, actually, that's a good idea. I'm like, why are you paying me? Actually, I have good ideas. Sorry, I sidetracked you. Go ahead.
Yeah. But anyway, I think anything that Dice puts out is usually good education for industry. They try to make it accessible and not regulatory like jargon all the time. They try to make it like easy for companies who might not have that baseline of education really useful, and they're talking about it's drugs, biologics, and devices, but they're working on some of the use of digital health technologies for data collection and clinical trials, benefit risk framework and analytical methods to inform benefit risk, and a bunch of other, the FDA's QMSR, they're going to talk about that and kind of the implementation of it. So I always think that that conference is super helpful,
So
and it's
good.
hybrid now too. So if you don't feel like going to DC, you can just tune in. And they always post it on like YouTube. I've gone back to them before too for just training type things and gone, hey, just watch this instead of to start
Paying
and then
me
ask
for
me
stuff.
questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I think there was a complaint recently about, well, FDA hasn't done Ready for a while. Like this administration came in and then they got rid of Ready, and like within a few days it was like Ready conference is going live, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. So maybe, we had Aubrey Schick here last week, Alexia, and she even said that if you want things to be done by the agency right now, or really those public comments and like sending things into FDA to say like we need this is very valuable, because most of the things that reviewers and staff can do has to be driven by outside influence. And so it can't be someone at FDA being like, we need to do this, because if the people aren't asking for it, then why do it? So anyway, I wonder if it was kind of, where's our Ready conference? And then somebody was like, oh, people want the Ready conference. Let's do it. So very cool. I'm sad I'm not going to go though, because I will be there virtually, but Nilo and I are going to be hanging out in your neck of the woods, Alexia, for
When?
the MDIC on.
Oh yeah, in May, right?
Yeah. Heard you're out of
You're
town
gonna
though,
be
which is kind
you're
of
I
gonna
will
be
be out of town. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's a bummer that I'll miss you guys.
We're
I
gonna
might go to
party.
both, so I might see you. I might see you in mid-May for the Ready conference. It's an
Yeah,
easier
do it.
drive
You're
for
not
me.
far away, right, Nilo? Like
Yeah,
you're close.
it's 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, true.
but I will miss you. Yeah, I always miss you. I hang
Me
up and
too.
Nilo, this is a fun fact about me and Alexia. Like we used to be on calls together, and it was like my goal to try and get her to turn her camera off, because I was like, I would like send her text messages or like send her a chat offline just to see if I could get her to crack. And like then when she turned her camera off, I gave myself a point on the whiteboard next to me.
I wasn't her only target.
No,
Aaron,
I had a few.
Aaron was also a great target. You can only imagine, Nilo, Allison's
the worst to work
antics.
with. I know.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
It made those meetings so much more fun.
You're welcome.
Allison, it'll make you feel better. I try to do the same with Megan on our team. I'll see if I can get her to crack, because she's so good at like remaining like straight-faced and like delivering things, and I'll see if I can get her. She's a tough cookie though. It's not always easy.
That's
So,
awesome. Somebody wrote in the chat. There is a chat, and people have been talking,
yeah.
and then I just realized I'm like, oh, I should look at the chat, and then I was like, oh shoot. Okay, Barker said something. Here we go. Regulatory stuff is no joke. That was early on. And then, oh wow, there's lots of stuff in here. Okay, now that I don't know what like most of them were associated with, I'm assuming the truck. Someone said like for long trucking. Yeah, for apnea. I bet that was that comment. And then Kate said, worth checking out the thread of helping to improve patient trust. NIH OSP is working on new policy updates with draft materials to help academic investigators improve the post-trial care and informed consent for studies with implantable medical devices. So let's see. Oh, there it is. And then it's not going to show the link, but I'll put the link maybe in the live notes. But it's grants.nih.gov. Yeah, go ahead.
That actually reminded me that kind of sneakily, like during Christmas, the Cross Center put out a new study of sex differences in clinical evaluation of medical products draft guidance, and it's still open for comment. And I think it's notable because the administration through DEI had kind of taken down a lot of that stuff, and it was, I'm really happy to see that they have continued, the people inside FDA have continued to advance that work. And I know like way back when Catherine Kim and I had worked on some of that work when we were still at the FDA, and it's just good to see that it didn't totally get axed out and it's out there for comment. And it's across all centers and Office of Women's Health, policy, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Do
I
you know when
was
it
unaware.
closes? Commenting period?
Have it actually
Let's
up because
see.
I didn't know it was out there. I guess it came out in November, but somehow or another I missed it.
Okay.
Um, and I don't know when the comments close. Usually they're only
Okay.
3 months, so maybe it is already closed, but it, I don't know. It
Good to
somehow
know,
didn't hit my
though.
radar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it was during that crazy holiday period. And I vaguely remember seeing it come through and just, yeah, being surprised a little bit.
That's good. Not everything has to be bad surprises. Some things are good surprises.
Pleasant.
Nice. Pleasant surprise. Any other conferences on you guys' radar? I'm going actually to Neurotech today. Neurotech Forum, and I get to hang out with Vivek Pinto. I'm so
Oh, nice.
excited. Yeah, and Jojo Platt. Like, this is such a cool conference. But any
I
other
feel like
ones that you guys know coming up?
I haven't seen Vivek or Tara in like 10 years. I feel bad. We talked about the MDIC one and then and the Ready conference. I'm gonna go to like a stereotactic brain surgery conference in Cleveland. I forgot the actual name of it because we've got some clients going there, but it seems super interesting. I was gonna only go for dinner, and now I might try to go to the conference itself because, and I'll post what it is in the links, but it's the last weekend in May, the weekend after Memorial Day weekend this year. So
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel
What
like
you,
there's
Alexia?
No,
coming up.
I think it was the MDIC one that I was aware of that you guys are already going to be at, but I don't have any other on my radar at the moment.
All
ASQ
right.
World Conference on Quality and Improvement from Alan is coming up. I'm not going to that, but hopefully, Alan, you're going.
Oh, and hey, I should talk about one that's not necessarily a conference, but it's a talk. Our buddy from FDA, Jessica Mavadia Shukla, is going to be presenting on the MDDT, so the Medical Device Development Tool program. I'm the VP of Programs at San Diego Regulatory Affairs Network because
Sorry.
someone told me recently they call it SADRAN, and I'm like,
I read it as SADRAN.
it's just
It wasn't me that told you
ran.
that, though, so there's two people.
I don't know. That's sad.
Yeah.
Anyway, SD-RAN, San Diego Regulatory Affairs Network, is having Jessica talk to us. So last month was Dr. Weber, who gave an amazing presentation on real world evidence. And this is for like, it's only virtual. And it's like,
Oh,
I
nice.
think $10 or something, or $15 to like come and, or like log in and watch her give a talk. And I use the MDDT pathway to like, or I tell people about it. I'm like, you should consider this. And then I'm like, but I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know much about it. So I'm going to learn.
Yeah,
And she's going
I'm
to teach
actually
us.
I think I'm gonna try to register for that one too, because I'm super interested. Similarly, I've done it a little bit. I'm also always curious about like device-based biomarkers, where like
Yeah.
gait analyzers and like movement trackers and goniometers and stuff, and how you can use that as like a biomarker for a drug trial and like
Yeah.
where that fits into play with FDA. It's always interesting. I feel like Jessica has all that information.
She does. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's on April 22nd, 5 to 6 p.m. PT. So it's late for you guys. But it's because we're in San Diego.
Yeah. It's
We
actually
pay the
nice. It's
sunshine
post
tax.
bedtime.
Yeah, it's after bedtime. But yeah, it's on the SD-RAN LinkedIn, and also on I reposted it on LinkedIn as well. So Alexia, last thing, where can people find you? Like if people want to like contact you, or maybe you don't want people to contact you, like where do people get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me through LinkedIn, probably your best bet, but I have a website too, harmoniainsights.com. Yeah.
Love it.
That's probably the two best ways.
I love our regulatory songbird. Thank you for joining us today. It's like I feel like I say this every week, but I think this is one of our best TTKUs. So we'll
Lots
have
going
to.
on.
I know,
Yeah.
so much going on. That's it. Some weeks it's like, well, this has been fun. 20 minutes, goodbye. And then, but this week, wow, look at us. We got almost to the full hour.
Got the whole hour in.
Yeah.
And we are going to be switching over to a new podcast, or like not podcast, but like the new Riverside FM. So everyone who's been listening, you'll get a new link in the coming weeks, and we're going to switch over there. So excited.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Thanks,
Cool.
everybody.
Good
Thank you,
seeing you,
guys.
Alexia.
Alexia.
Thanks
Bye.
for
Bye.
having me. Bye.
Always.